Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Picarro Community Green, the podcast where sustainability meets cutting-edge technology for natural gas operators. I'm your host, Tracy Boyd, bringing insights into how the world's leading companies are paving the way towards net zero. In today's episode, we have the privilege of sitting down with two guests from across the pond. First up is Chris Rison, the head of London Investment Planning Office at Cadent Gas Limited, who has recently stepped into the role of overseeing operational performance for Cadent's entire network. Joining him is Bruno Gama from Picarro, a company that's revolutionizing gas leak detection with their groundbreaking technology. Together today, we're going to explore the integration of environmental sustainability in the gas distribution industry and touch upon Cadent's innovative strategies for a more sustainable future. So welcome to both of you.
Hi, thank you.
So let's get to know our guests a little bit. Chris, I gave you that introduction. Can you share some insight into your experience as head of London Investment Planning Office at Cadent Gas Limited? What a long title, first of all. That's how do you even fit that on a business card? Let's discuss how your role of environmental and sustainability background has influenced your approach to this role.
Sure. I think aside from the problem of fitting all the things I'd like to do on a business card, I think lots of us want to make a positive contribution and to help the environmental agenda and move towards net zero. And I'm one of those. I want to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. And for me, I think we should just aim for positive steps. We don't need to overcomplicate things. Anything that moves us forwards, I think, is a good thing. And that's my perspective on it. I think whilst we've been working in London Investment Team, we've tried to be data-led. We've tried to use the data we've got and follow some clear processes. And we've tried to kind of optimize our decisions for the asset over the life of the asset. It's kind of classic terminology from asset management, but that's what we've tried to do. So safety, it's a core feature for gas industries, of course. Cost, always important. But we've really made a big effort to incorporate environment as well, and to do that in a practical way. And I think we'll talk about that in this conversation.
Absolutely. And I have a note here that you were recently promoted to the Operational Performance Department, moving from the North London network to now oversee the entire Cadent network. Congratulations, first of all. Can you just share maybe your top 3 goals that you have in your new role?
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, good question. I'm getting a lot of those challenges and queries about exactly what we should be focusing on in a smarter future than where we've come from. And I think for me, the first thing to try and do is define what is a smart network, because it probably means different things to different people. And for me, I think what we should do is focus on measuring the things that matter, using those measurements to adjust the network and to respond, and to do all of that with clear benefits that we want to achieve in mind. So my top 3 goals would be, firstly, we've started to collect more data in Cadent, including methane emissions, and we want to scale that up. But there's probably other data to collect as well in a more scalable version that we've done in the past. That could be pressure or flow or calorific value. So that's goal 1. Goal 2 for me is to put the technology and systems in place that we can react to that information quickly and meaningfully, and therefore improve our business. And thirdly, it would be more of a people and cultural goal, where we shift our mindset and our thinking to be more aware of our own network and how it behaves, and more proactive in making it better. We've probably been guilty of being fairly reactive for most of our past, and I think we can make a shift with modern technology to be more proactive.
I think that echoes with a lot of what we're hearing too, is that movement from being reactive to proactive is such a key paradigm shift that we're going to see in the coming years for a lot of gas operators. Bruno, I'm going to invite you into the conversation. Tell me a little bit about how long have you known and how long have you been working with Chris?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Tracy. Yeah, I've been working with Cadent and Chris since late 2021. At the time, Chris was leading a pilot project sponsored by Transport from London. The project was mainly to collect data using Picarro technology in 1,600 kilometers of North London area. The main goal of the project at the time was to demonstrate the capabilities of Picarro on emissions measurement and quantification, and how to effectively prioritize the pipeline replacement program. We used the data that we collected in the survey to compare Picarro emissions measured data against the incumbent shrinkage model, and then also to support the pipeline replacement program. And also one of the objectives was also to identify the methane, the major methane emission sources, what we call the super emitters in the network that we did the pilot.
Excellent. Wonderful. So one of the things I want to key off of something that Chris said is this idea of achieving safety and sustainability goals at the same time. Is that something that you believe gas distribution companies are doing and can do?
Yeah, definitely. I truly believe that distribution companies can leverage upon the most effective tools and methodologies to proactively manage leaks using a more risk-based strategy to embrace a more structured approach. We have the tools for operators to use data to prioritize actions and effectively allocate scarce resources. This will enable operators to holistically manage the system as the regulations evolve across the world, to continue to assess their gas system health and performance. And what we observe is that emission distribution curve in a typical gas system spans over 5 orders of magnitude. So what we observe is that typically 2 to 5% of the leaks represent 50% of the total emissions. Also, there is a high correlation between emissions and dangerous leaks. So that brings a great opportunity for operators to aggressively abate emissions and increase safety at the same time.
Chris, what are your thoughts on that? Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, I agree. There's without doubt a huge overlap between managing safety and emissions. And I think the key point probably is that they kind of start from the same place. And that is that if there's a loss of containment, i.e. a leak from the network, that's the thing that's bad for the environment. And that's the thing that really drives safety risk. So, and building on that, most really damaging or risky things are based on bigger leaks, as Bruno was kind of alluding to. And if you've got good data to manage one or either, you can probably manage both better. So there's a really big overlap there. They're not identical. There's a few nuances because, of course, the nature of the location affects risk in a way that the environment is blind to. But other than that point that needs its own careful thought, that there's so much overlap, and it's good that these agendas can be tackled together. It's very helpful, really.
So the next question I have might seem like a little bit of an overlap. I'm going to ask it anyway, and then if you guys think we've already been addressed, we'll just nix this part. And it's really to Chris, which is, how does environmental sustainability factor into Cadent Gas's overall strategy, particularly in terms of minimizing risk and ensuring safety of the network?
So there's a huge and a very heavy focus on this at the moment. It's something where we are really proud as a company and being part of the British gas industry, which is an industry with 200 plus years of history, to safely and reliably transport a fuel that really makes a difference to people's lives. People live longer, breathing warmer air. People cook their dinner for the people that sit around a table that they love. And it's a wonderful thing to have those things that we do take for granted. But equally, we're very conscious that methane's a really bad source of greenhouse gas emissions. And we really want to reduce the negatives that go on an unfortunate hand in hand with the positives that distributing heat creates. And I think in numbers in the UK, it's about 23%, may not be an exact stat, but something like that, I think, of UK emissions are associated with providing heat for houses and cooking and industry. So it's a really important part of tackling and delivering on net zero. I think the good news, building on some of the conversation we've had, is that these agendas genuinely reinforce one another. If we do something better and safer, it's better for the environment. It's less reactive works in public highways and disruption in communities. It's safer for people. So it's better for everyone.
So if you could elaborate for me, help me understand the role of Picarro within Cadent's vision for a safe and sustainable network.
So our journey with Picarro has been a huge eye-opener. It's been an interesting journey, and it's probably fair to say that somewhere between 2 and 3 years ago, we didn't know, or maybe didn't believe, that you could do some of the things that you can with not only the measurement technology, but all of the data processing and the machine learning that really makes the data come to life and be really so valuable. So really, it's changed our perspective on what's possible. And I think it's the coverage that the technology offers, it's the accuracy. It's been a huge enabler, and we've been really quite successful in managing to get that data incorporated with our wider investment strategy. We're working towards using the data as part of our safety management strategy for leaks in a relatively short space of time. So the words kind of paradigm shift come to mind. Actually, there is a whole different way of doing business. It's there for the taking.
Bruno, what are your thoughts on, Picarro's technology contributing to that paradigm shift to achieving these goals?
Yeah, Picarro contributes to achieving these goals in various aspects, and Chris alluded for a few of them. I think, firstly, Picarro brings this single framework that promotes efficient, pragmatic, system-wide, value-driven asset management with one data set. And I think this is important because this data set can be used towards different objectives. This can be used to increase safety as an advanced leak survey. For example, this can be used to measure and abate emissions more from a sustainability point of view. And this can be used to drive an effective, cost-effective pipeline replacement program. So I think the importance here is that one data set for different applications. Secondly, Picarro brings also the experience of working with over 40 companies across the globe over the last 15 years. So this transformative approach enabled Picarro to deliver impactful and immediate value for Cadent, helping the company to achieve these goals.
Yeah, just that knowledge of those 40 companies, what we're able to bring right off the bat. Is there common experiences among those 40 companies? Are we seeing very consistent challenges and solutions across those organizations?
Yes, we definitely see a lot of similarities between the companies. The common theme is similar around safety and sustainability, so that's a common theme. Obviously, each company has its own jurisdiction, your own regulatory framework, and that is different. But we definitely see this common theme in terms of challenges that we observe across the peers. And one of the things that we are trying to do as a company as well is to facilitate this peer-to-peer communication, because I think it's a great opportunity for them to learn from themselves, and obviously as an industry to evolve.
I couldn't agree more. Chris, in your opinion, what are some of the key challenges and opportunities that you're seeing in integrating a risk model that supports your net zero goals?
So I think the gas industry is rightly quite conservative. We all know that things can go dreadfully wrong when they go wrong. So we tread cautiously. That's in our nature. So I think there's a few key steps. We need to do the right tests to expose the kind of stakeholders and regulators to the technology, and for everyone to be able to ask their own questions. I think that following kind of industry processes around how does change get assessed and delivered is important for people. I think people feel very uncomfortable if those kind of processes are just thrown under the bus. That's
Absolutely
not the right way to do business. So there is an element where changes like the ones we're talking about can't be done super quickly. But as Bruno was saying, there is a global kind of movement here, actually. The first movers have already moved. There is experience that can be referenced. That's a big opportunity to learn from others. And I think the other thing that is really quite easy in this space, actually, is transparency. There's absolutely no hidden agenda. There's nothing to hide.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And that's quite nice, that you can just be very comfortably open with anyone who wants to see and show that you're just trying to do the right thing by your customers, by the environment, by the community, for everyone's benefit.
In terms of change management, which is something I think that you aptly addressed here, as something that traditionally this industry is a slow mover. How do you see Cadent addressing that? How has Cadent been so effective in being part of one of those first movers?
I think some of it's courage and organizational values. We want to be proactive, and we want to be a leader. We want to try and help the industry and the country to achieve its own stated goals, even if those are goals that we don't quite know how. So we've tried to step into it. We've, to some extent, we've put our money where our mouth is, and we've made an investment into some technology, which actually we're not funded for. But we've done that because we think it's the right direction of travel, and we think that the benefits will come for the company. And I think just wanting to do the right thing and to remember that our business purpose is to keep people safe while protecting the planet. That's our stated purpose, and this aligns with that. And so if it aligns with that, then we want to do it.
You want to do it, right. Kind of keying off of that to a certain extent as we get close to wrapping up. What are some of the innovative approaches and strategies that Cadent Gas is adopting really to maintain that safe and environmentally responsible network for your clients? And really, how do you see that evolving moving into the future?
Yeah, good question. We're trying to do as much as we can. We are doing things like changing our property portfolio, making sure our energy supplies are as sustainable as they can be. We're proactive in doing collaborative street works, which is a big focus in London in particular, but also in the rest of the country, to try and make sure that if you can avoid digging holes multiple times, then we do. And we do things like install sustainable urban drainage systems in the excavations where we might have had to do a work on our gas network. We're looking at how do we deliver our construction sites for net zero, with plant welfare, concrete, and things like that being considered. And our fleet is shifting towards electric, and we're looking at hydrogenated vegetable oil. All of the above are kind of within scope, and we're always looking for the next thing as well.
So one final question I'll ask to both of you. How do you foresee the role of technology evolving to further address some of the things we've talked about here today, such as risk, enhanced environmental safety, addressing sustainability, reaching net zero, within the natural gas industry? Bruno, I'll flip that to you first.
Sure. Chris mentioned, I guess it's all about doing the right thing on sustainability and safety, right? In my view, technology should be used to help addressing problems and challenges within the gas industry to achieve certain goal, to allow companies to discuss these challenges in an informed way to develop solutions. I think and we discussed this during the podcast, is the relationship between Cadent and Picarro. I believe it's a great example of us working together to engage these problems, to work together towards solution, innovation, optimization, and continuous improvement. It's a learning process for both of us and for the industry. So it's better that we work together to address these challenges.
I think technology is going to be the enabler, the game changer for us to move our industry forwards. And I think things like sensorization of the network and collecting data, as I've said earlier, I think being able to control our network in a more deft way than we've ever done before helps us to reduce emissions, reduce leakage, avoid reactive work for our operational staff. And the other thing we're really keen to do is to do as much as we can to decarbonize the fuel we transport. And I think the biggest way we can do that is by helping to enable biogas connections to come onto the network and to support the hydrogen blend that is now coming into Europe and the UK. We want to do all of those things. We want to do them in a controlled way, but as much as possible, as fast as possible. And technology is the answer to enable any of that to happen.
Excellent. What an insightful conversation this has been for me. A couple of trends and key points I just want to pull out, which is one of the things we discussed in this call was, measuring what matters. It's more data and the importance of putting data at the core, really, of your business. The moving trend from being less reactive to more proactive, that this is actually enabling, so that data at the core is enabling you to be having a proactive approach. Really to making it emissions first and safety. So it doesn't have to just be safety, it's emissions and safety, which I think is a key point for our listeners, and the key role of technology is going to have in the future. A huge thank you to Chris and Bruno for joining us today and sharing their knowledge and experiences with our audience. We've unveiled the intricate balance of operational performance, environmental sustainability, and really the critical role technology plays in shaping a safer, cleaner world. To our listeners, we hope this episode has provided new perspectives on how companies like Cadent are leading the charge in sustainability while maintaining top-notch safety standards. The intersection of technology and eco-conscious practices truly holds the promise of transforming the energy sector. For more information on the topics we've discussed today, make sure to visit our website and Cadent's website and check out any of the show notes we provide. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so don't miss out on future episodes as we continue to uncover environmental innovations within the industry. Thank you for tuning in, and goodbye for now.